All right, I'm gonna share a little personal story here that I don't I don't share. There's probably a few people in my life that have actually heard this. Um, this story though will make the difference for you if you're going to be a great dog trainer or an average one and struggle and hit dead ends and have all kinds of problems trying to train dogs. Um, this story, like I said, I mean, I don't share this one much because I don't talk about my 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 personal stuff much. But this is back when I was a little kid when I was born. My mom and dad my mom and dad were were pretty reclusive people. If you didn't know, I am too now. But they didn't have a lot of outside friends. I don't remember any friends coming over our house. We had um, relatives who lived on our street and stuff like that, but that was pretty much it. When I was a kid, I was isolated to our house, our family, and that kinds of stuff. When I was five years old, I went to school. I remember when I went to first grade, and I was nervous as hell. And I mean, you don't really want to show it because you're trying to be the big boy or whatever. And I went to school, and I was scared. And I went into the classroom, and there was, I think, about 20 kids in that class, and it was painful for me. I sat there and I really anxiety and stuff. But I was holding it together. Lunchtime came, and you all line up and you go down and you march down the hall, and we got to the cafeteria, and this is vivid for me. Vivid. I'm 54 years old, and this was when I was 5 years old, and we got to the and had those big doors, and they opened up the doors, and there was probably 100 kids in that room, cafeteria room. I remember the sound when they opened up the doors, the sound of those kids, because they're running around playing and making noise, whatever. They're eating lunch, but there was a ton of noise. I remember the pressure I felt, and I just broke down and I cried and I cried, and I had to call my mom, and she came and she got me. Um, the next day, it happened again. It started so when I got dropped off at school, I was starting to cry and this and that. This went on for 3 weeks. Every day, my mom had to come deal with it and stuff like that. Three weeks. Then I got to the point where I could hold it together. I went to school, and I would ask for the hall pass to go to the bathroom, and I would go in there and cry. Um, that went on until third grade. Just about every single day, I would go to school, make it to I don't know 10 o'clock or whatever it was, go to the bathroom and cry. This was me in school. Okay, it was brutal. I hated every single day of school. I hated being there. The social situation was way too much for me. Okay, there's a lot I could talk about here. Okay, one thing is the learning environment. Ivan talks about this in his course. He makes a big deal out of the 6 things that you must have to create the learning environment, and that the big first thing is the dog has to be comfortable. The dog has to love you. The dog, you love the dog. The dog knows that everything, this dog is comfortable to learn. If you don't have that, then you can't learn. I was an absolute mess. Thank God I had a high IQ and I could pass school. I was getting all A's and B's, but it was not because of environment was right for me to learn. I was struggling every day. Absolutely sucked. Absolutely sucked. So this goes on and on and on. And I never liked school. I mean, I never liked school every single day. I went to school till I was 26 years old straight, graduate school and stuff like that. I hated every single day. I got out, businesses and stuff like that. And my entire life, I read the whole psychology, the self-help books and this and that and affirmations, all of this stuff. I tried to change that anxiety and that I didn't want to go out into crowds. I didn't want to do this. I used to speak on stage in front of a lot of people, because a business I was in, and I got pretty big, and I used to go and speak and this and that, and I did it, right? And I was able to put on this act and get through it, but I hated it, right? But beyond that, I was always trying to change myself. I was always trying to be this extrovert, because I believed back then that you could, you that whole the blank slate thing, maybe I wasn't so socialized enough from my mom and dad when I was young, but I'm a blank slate and I can fix that. So I kept putting myself into these situations, and I had this life that was constant stress. And I'm 54 years old now, and I never changed. Going out into all of these crowds and speaking and all of these things, yeah, I can do them. But that's not where I thrive. I do not thrive in environments. I have friends, man, and they love the crowds, and it pumps them up, and they come out and they shine. They shine. I used to play a lot of sports too, and I actually fought in front of crowds, and that one-on-one fight in front of a crowd, man, that's really, really tense. You know what I mean? But I do not like the social situations. I am not that person. And to spend most of my years into my 40s trying to fix myself, what a waste of time, because I am who I am. And then the day that I figured it out, and it was like, man, this is who I am, create a life that I don't have to go do those things. And I mean, you really don't, you don't have to, you just really don't, right? People are different. So about the dogs, when you train a dog, you get these dogs, and some of these dogs, everybody wants to change. And you get this dog that might be a little shy, introverted. They don't like the social situations. And you're gonna do this program to fix them, to change them. There's nothing to fix. It's not going to change. You just continually force these dogs into situations that they never wanted to be in their whole life. And sure, sometimes they learn to not react and learn to not deal, and they learn to deal with it and this and that. But that doesn't mean they're happy, and that doesn't mean that's where they should be, right? So the big thing Ivan teaches is, the biggest thing, whenever you look at a dog, you have to determine what's genetic and what's learned behavior. The things that are learned, you can usually change. depending on how habitual it is. And I mean, this is all long story stuff, but you have the potential to change that. Things that are genetic, you're not going to change. You're just going to control and guide. And you have to know what's genetic and what's learned, and then you have to know how to control and guide too. But if you're gonna butt up against genetics and you're gonna go against genetics, like I was going against my own genetics for 40 something years, man, making just constant conflict with myself. And everybody training dogs, they just think that I can make this happen, so I will. And they never ask the question why and at what cost to a dog. Right? I can take dogs and I can make them do anything. I can make them go into social situations and not react and this and that. I know a lot of stuff. I can make a lot of things happen with dogs, but you always have to say why and at what cost. So take a look at dogs and learn how to determine what's genetic and what's learned behavior. The learned stuff, you go in and there's a lot more that you can do with it. There's a lot more that you can fix. The genetic stuff, that's who the dog is. Stop trying to change that. Stop trying to, you're making the dogs miserable. And just because the dog goes along with it doesn't mean the dog is happy and you should do it to that dog. I never should have went down that road of constantly, and everybody was trying to change me when I was a kid. You know, I stuttered really, really bad. I still do. But when I was in school, when I was a little kid, man, I couldn't even speak. In school, I mean, I was a mess. It was just such a horrible situation for me. But Matt's going to change. And I always thought I had to change, and I really don't. And these dogs don't have to change, right? I mean, dogs can't go and attack dogs, and I'm, this and that. But understand who these dogs are, and you have to get control of these dogs, of course. But then you have to give them environments that they are going to thrive in. Stop trying to fit them into your life, into a life an owner wants. Owners come to me all the time, and they're like, I want this, I want that, I want this. It's just, I want. You never hear, hey, what's best for my dog? Right? I'm not here to take a dog and make it what an owner wants. I am here to look at a dog and to see who that dog is genetically and explain to the owner what the best possible way to deal with this dog is. What should we do to give this dog the best possible life? And that's not just fit the dog into I want. All of these things you hear that, I want to take my dog everywhere. What is that? You don't need, dogs don't want to go everywhere with you for the most part, right? I mean, why do you want to bring your dog everywhere with you? Other people don't want the dog there, and it's not like go play ball with your dog, go play possession games with your dog, go out in the field, like trying to make this dog just fit into your life. Problem. And trainers out there shaking their head watching this now, and they have a lot of pride that it's not about the dog. The dog should do what we say, and and the dog just fits into our life. I've heard it. I've heard big YouTube stars saying this shit. Not me, man. I am diametrically opposed to that approach. These dogs have one life too. It's your responsibility to give them the best life they possibly can have. And the first thing you can do is determine what's genetic, what is learned, and where you should go with that dog. And how you can make the best possible life for that dog. Then we can get into training techniques and all and this and that and this and that, because I can do a lot with dogs, control and guide and this and that. And this doesn't mean that you can't bring dogs out. Like Norm, I just trained this dog Norm that man, he was reacting to people and this and that, and he would bite and everything. And now you see me with Norm going out public, and he loves it. He loves the strangers. He runs up to him, he jumps on him, this and that, because his genetics were that. His genetics was this friendly, social, outgoing dog that had just gone down a bad path and gotten into a bad place that I had to get him out of. That's very different than a dog that genetically does not want to socialize, does not like strangers, that doesn't like those things genetically, and you're going to force it. They're two very different dogs. Oreo, my dog, one of my dogs, that's who he is, man. He doesn't even want the other dogs here. I have 5 dogs. He doesn't even want the other dogs around, but he learned to deal with them, and they don't mess with him. And this is a long story, isn't that? But Oreo is a dog that you are not going to make a social dog. He can't go bite somebody. He can't go attack people anymore. He used to, right? And I can take him out, and he is not going to attack anybody. But I don't bring him everywhere. I don't put him in situations every single day that he doesn't want to be in. We go out to the field, play ball. He has a wonderful life. And if somebody comes, he doesn't bite them. But I am not putting the alcoholic in a bar all day long, every day. That's a bad mistake for that person, right? Why would you do that? Why would you take a dog? People with pit bulls, okay? Pit bulls selectively bred to fight dogs, and genetically, if you have this kind of pit bull, genetically wants to hammer dogs, just sees those strange dogs, and it wants those dogs, and you're going to fix that. You're not going to fix that. You can control that dog, and you can guide that dog. But why would you want to take a dog that was selectively bred to fight dogs and force them to be around strange dogs every single day just because you think that should be done? I own some pit bulls, man, and they hate strange dogs. And I have you see my videos, I have them off leash, and I can control these dogs. I have serious control. And I'll flat out say, there's not many people out there that can control those pit bulls the way I can do it. Ivan could, right? But I have seriously hot, dog aggressive pit bulls, and I can control those dogs. And you see them off leash, they recall and this and that. It's a mistake to take those dogs and just parade them in front of strange dogs every single day. Why would you do that? You're not fixing that. Okay? Now, there are some dogs that are aggressive to strange dogs because they're in a bad place mentally. They've learned something incorrectly. You can change the picture for them. You can show them strange dogs are not a bad thing. You can teach them to say hello, and boom, they socialize. I've done it with many dogs. That's a different dog than the dog that genetically does not like strange dogs and wants to fight strange dogs. Those are two very different dogs. And if you can't tell the difference between those two dogs, you're going to struggle a trainer. If you can't tell the difference between a dog that genetically can't do something versus they've just learned it incorrectly and it can change. That's the biggest thing that you have to grasp as a concept. What's genetic and what's learned. And then you have to put your ego aside, and you have to start to tell owners, look, this is what this dog is. This is the best life for them. I don't give a shit what you want, because what you want is not what's best for this dog, and I'm not going to force it. Once again, at what cost to a dog? They can go somewhere else and they can get somebody that's going to suppress the piss out of that dog. It's going to get neurotic. It's going to go wrong. It's going to be a mess. Determine what's genetic, what's learned. Learn to control and guide. And man, owners, when you explain this to them, the vast majority of them are like, yeah, wow. Nobody ever explained this to me. This makes complete sense. I want that for my dog. It is absolutely rare when I get the person that's like, no, I want this and I want that and I want that. They come to you like this, but when you explain this to them correctly, anybody who's rational and feels loves their dog, they're going to say, yeah, this makes complete sense. And if they don't, I don't want them. I don't want them as a client of mine. I'm not going to train their dog. They can go to somebody else who's just doing it for money and doesn't really understand dogs and is going to try to force that dog into a miserable life. That's fine. There's people right down the street will do that. Not me. So anyway, the big thing here is, once again, what's genetic, what's learned, where you're going to go, control and guide. Then you have to know how to control and guide, right? But anyway, if you're not going to determine what's genetic and learned, you're going to struggle training dogs for the rest of your life, and you're going to make dogs miserable. Over and out.